We're running just a few minutes late. We'll let everybody get settled. Take this contact out. Well, this is new. What do you need? Oh, a pen. Oh, look, there's also, if I need these, I didn't bring mine in. Let me see if these work. Oh, yeah, this is good. I'm set. Okay. Do we have everybody here? Are the members of the committee in attendance? Okay. We will reconvene our meeting. Is that how, but this is part of this original meeting. We just did our tours of the applicants that have submitted for this go-around, and we will ask for a roll call vote, please, to make sure everybody's here.
Pat Northey,
Here.
Jay Pendergast,
Here.
Jeffrey Alt,
Here.
Sarah Lee Morrissey. Here. Pat Patterson,
He is in the house. I don't. There he is. Okay.
David Romeo,
Here.
Reggie Santilli. Here. Stacy Simmons. Here. Jack Surratt.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, and we will move to approval of the January 12th, 2023 minutes. Has everybody had an opportunity to review those minutes? Is there any questions or comments? If not, we will file them as they are prepared. Public participation, do we have any members of the public that want to speak? No public participation. So we will move into the 2023 ECHO grant application eligibility determination. And Kendra, I'm going to turn to you and ask you to clarify what we're doing on, particularly on the Jackie Robinson site.
Okay, so you're here today just to vote on eligibility for all of the projects. It's not on if it's a standard or exceptional grant, it's just if the project,
Eligibility. Do they meet
if it's
the-
eligible,
yeah.
correct.
All right. So first one on our agenda is Daytona Playhouse Renaissance Phase 2. And I will open it up for advisory committee member comments, and then we'll entertain a vote or a motion. Are there, did I just see you? Because it's not coming up on this. What's the, you don't even, okay. Okay. Are there other members of the committee that would like to make any comment? If not, I will entertain a motion.
Do we have anybody here?
I called for public, oh, is she here? Okay. Okay, well, come on down. There might be some questions, we'll see. Oh, yeah, you're coming from the east side, yeah. Okay, you want to give us your name again for the
Sure.
record?
Kathy Thompson, President, Daytona Playhouse.
Okay, are there questions for, you have a question? Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with the grant itself, just in 2 weeks when we ask questions, I just want to let you know, I'm going to be asking you a few questions about your strategic plan and your employee situation.
Sure.
You have some great things in your strategic plan of what you want to accomplish in the next 5 years, but I don't see any, employees to really help do that.
Okay.
So if you could just be prepared for that. a little
Sure,
bit.
that's very helpful, thank you.
Okay, other comments or questions of the applicant? Okay, in that case, I will entertain a motion on an eligibility. Mr. Patterson?
Madam Chair, I move approval of the Daytona Playhouse Renaissance Phase 2.
For eligibility?
For eligibility,
Okay.
sorry.
Is that significant?
I second it.
Okay, and who seconded that? Jack? Jack seconded. Is there discussion? Seeing none, let's take a roll call vote on these, please.
Pat Northey,
Yes.
Jay Pendergast,
Yes.
Jeffrey Alt,
Yes.
Sarah Lee Morrissey,
Yes.
Pat Patterson,
Yes.
David Romeo,
Yes.
Reggie Santilli,
Yes.
Stacy Simmons,
Yes.
Jack Surratt.
Yes.
Okay, your project is deemed eligible, and we look forward to hearing some more. Thank you. We'll move to the City of Daytona Beach, and I think Beth Gibson, did I get it right? Beth Gibson is here to represent that, and I will turn to the committee members and ask if there's anybody who has any questions for Ms. Gibson. Mr. Ault.
I've got a question just about staff notes. The recommendation to the applicant was address the above-mentioned findings and reapply in a subsequent grant cycle, because we do not have construction drawings, and that is part of that's what we're supposed to be reviewing. That's a major part of it. So, to staff, do we have any update on that? Do you still feel the same way?
Our findings stand as presented.
Okay. Mr. Surratt?
Yeah, I'm going the same place there as Jeff. I saw, there's a number of these things. It's connected to the lease, and we're part of a much bigger project. And I understand the access and the nature of it. I like all the design work, but I'm concerned with the mechanics of this. And to me, I like to see it packaged up pretty cleanly instead of we're waiting for the potential of a lease arrangement, which will then in fact meet the standards that we put in place as ECHO. And when we're in that position, and I read that, I oftentimes think that the application itself is premature. That in fact, until the circumstance is kind of rectified, it's difficult for me to say they're eligible, because the lease is an important part, very important part of this component of this big project. So I'm not sure if that would affect the eligibility. I don't mind kind of looking at it as part of the plan, but I'm unhappy with the circumstance not being rectified before the application takes place.
Do you want to comment on that?
Yes, thank you for the opportunity. Beth Gibson, Planning Solutions, City of Daytona Beach. Yeah, and I guess it's sort of a catch-22, right, of moving projects forward, particularly really large ones like this, because you're putting your funding strategy together and putting all the money in the bank to be sure the project is moving forward, and the timelines and how all that works. And then if you get one aspect of it too far along, you sort of may do it to the exclusion of other things, right? So if, for instance, if the City of Daytona Beach went ahead and negotiated a lease without consideration of ECHO, things that you might want in there might not be in there, right? So the intent of this was to be fully transparent, to bring it to the county very early, to give the county an opportunity to participate in this project in a very meaningful way. And for me, having worked with the city, Sarah Lee and I keep chatting because we were employees together back in the early 90s in Daytona Beach. And to me, this is sort of a different opportunity where the city and the county don't always work great together or very early together on things, and look at that together and really see the opportunity. So I think that was the intent of this, was really to bring it forward early, to get the input, to get the stakeholders, to get the information out there on what is planned, what is going on, so you can have a voice in it and a say in it, the citizens of the county, through this process. So that was the intent. And the construction, it's going to be on a fast track, and it will be built quickly. It has to be under the requirements, for baseball and all that. So this project will move forward very quickly, and it could be design build. That has to be determined, so that's another reason that when the design is done, it may be done all at once with the design and construction all sort of occurring as once. So, I mean, there is a long-term history with the city with this lease, and in fact, the lease is kind of confusing because on the one hand, it's a private for-profit, so that was an issue. So this is just sort of a complex, unusual project, I think, that you have to maybe step away from the standards a little bit and look at, does it meet the mission and the intent of ECHO? Because we have had baseball there for, the whole time, right? And we've had ECHO grants there over the history of the project as well. So I don't think anything has changed. The city is still responsible for it, always has been, always will be. So the fact that they don't have a lease right now, that, they just have a short-term lease that doesn't go the whole extent, I think, they're going to have restrictive covenants that take care of the time frame. So that was our perspective, that there's no, and, if we don't, you get the money back. It's not, I mean, you have a lot of stops in your program, performance requirements, right?
Yeah, but we don't like doing that.
Well, sure, and we don't like that either, on the other side. But.
Certainly, but I guess the ultimate question would be, if you were to put this all in place and have the lease in place and have it all buttoned up to where you were coming to us and saying, here's a project that we're applying for, that can't happen in today's world. Like if we were to say, okay, in a month, do you think it would be tightened down and be better? No, it would be the same.
Yeah, not necessarily. And I don't, imagine it's city commission, right, that has to make these decisions and negotiate the lease, the city manager, the Tortugas, MLB baseball,
Yeah.
right? And
I can
Cincinnati,
appreciate the
they're involved.
complexity.
So there's a lot of players here that obviously I don't control, but even, imagine like the county council, saying when they will do something, it takes the will of them to do that. So, I mean, we have commitment, we have a time frame, we've had commitment for the last couple of years, since 2020 when this all came up, from the county, from the municipalities within this, within the county, various community groups, which hopefully you saw the video and the link in the application. So I think the support, the intent, all of that is there, and we are pulling the pieces together, and we're asking you to be a partner with us in that and pulling those pieces together and give us a little leeway on, the construction plans. And I don't think this is the only project that's ever been potentially funded or approved without construction plans.
I understand,
And I mean, that doesn't make it right, I understand
I'm
that.
going to stop right there, and I'm going to ask staff to respond to that, if we had examples that you're aware of, Mr. Burbach.
So we have had design builds, and what they have presented instead is an RSQ that is ready to go on the street that has some specs for the committee to inspect. Now, if you talk about projects like playgrounds, of course, we're not doing construction drawings. We're doing design and development drawings, but we just approved one with DeBerry for their concession stand and 2 cycles ago, which was a design build, but they included the RSQ that had the specs with drawings in it that was ready to go out on the street when we were approved.
So when you are suggesting that this grant is premature, is that what you are expecting, that would come back to us with that information?
If it is a design build.
Okay.
So that's how we've done design builds in the past. Because I get it, if you're doing a design build, you're not going to have construction drawings, but you have an RSQ that has specs that are, have been sufficient for the committee in the past.
Okay.
I have a
Let me-
question.
Okay, let me go to Sarah Lee. I saw Sarah Lee first, and then we'll go back to you, Jay.
I don't know if I am remembering this accurately. When we revisited some of our rules and guides, did we say that exceptional grants could come in to the county any time of year? No. Was there, is it direct aid? Is that the one?
Direct county expenditures, yes.
Historic
That's the one I'm
preservation,
thinking of. Okay.
emergency, yeah, okay. Jay?
Yeah, my question is since there are no drawings, at the meeting at the site, you expressed that the building was approximately 5,000 square feet. Well, at $2.5 million, that's $500 a square foot to build that building. I mean, if it wasn't an exceptional grant for $2.5 million, I mean, I find it hard to believe that that one little building is going to cost that amount of money.
Well, the city did get, well, the city and the Tortugas got detailed cost estimates on that, which we provided in, in the budget
Right, but
application.
detailed cost estimates without drawings.
Well, I mean, they have an architect on board. It's
I
not like.
am an architect, ma'am.
But I mean,
And-
they have an architect on board, and they worked with the cost estimators, which was a separate firm. And I know they worked hand in hand, and I know things are much more expensive now. And it did include also the downstairs outside area as well. So it's not just the
Right,
sort
but
of
this
the
is a
upstairs.
bare bones building. You're talking in your report about, unfit, concrete floors and very basic and blah, blah, blah. I find the cost to be extremely high for that one little building. That's the only comment I have.
Okay.
Thank you. Other comments from this side? Okay.
But just one more.
Jeff?
Within your application, your construction timeline says you're going to begin the project in, I believe, July of 2024.
Correct.
So that's 18 months out. So we have plenty of time to hear this grant in the next cycle on schedule, providing the money to the city.
Yeah.
So, that alone to me, I am not voting to approve this as an eligible grant. I don't think you supplied what we need. We have recommended guidelines to the county. They have approved it. It's in those guidelines. You're supposed to be submitting certain elements, and we don't have those. I think your project, though, is a great project. I love the history. I love the sports. I love everything about it. But according to the ECHO guidelines, to me, you have not met that criteria yet.
Okay, is there a motion of something? We need to take some kind of a,
One other question. You're referencing the lease. Beth, did the lease ever come up in, I know it's a yearly, it's set for a year for right now, correct?
That's correct.
I mean, is there any conversation about, why it's a year only? Is it because the park is not up to the standards of the the baseball league? Or is there, anything tied into having the whole facility completed?
Yes, and thank you for asking that. So the lease was, that 1-year lease was just adopted or signed on December 21st. It went to City Commission. Before that, there was a 10-year lease, and it expired. It was from 2012. It expired at the end of 22. So they needed to do an extension as far as to be sure both parties were clear what the intent was, and the intent is obviously to move forward. And to give, so they did 1 year because they wanted to have all of these details worked out so they could have, a very specific, very good lease moving forward with a long-term intention. So, that is the intention of the City Commission. I don't know that there's a specific date when they're coming back, but I do know that there are meetings and discussions and between Tortugas and top city staff and, so I'm not sure exactly what date that's going back to City Commission. I don't think that's been scheduled, but I know they are actively in, negotiations or discussions about the lease currently.
okay. I'm just going to make a comment because, like Mr. Alt, I think it's a terrific project and the history particularly, and it is an important part of our community, but I don't have a sense that there's a lot of specifics that have been nailed down, and the lease agreement being a 1-year lease agreement is very troubling to me, very troubling to me. So I will now turn it back to the committee for either a vote of eligibility or a vote of reject eligibility. Mr. Alt.
Okay.
I move that we find the city of Daytona Beach ineligible with their grant application for Jackie Robins Stadium due to an incomplete application.
Is there a second?
I second it.
Okay, seconded by Surratt. Okay. Discussion by Sarah Lee?
I would like I don't know if this can be part of the motion or not. I would like it reflected that if it were not for the lease and the lack of construction documents and/or design build, RFP specifications, this grant would be eligible for a, what's our big grant called?
We're
Exceptional.
not voting on exceptionality today.
Okay, but I think it's important that our record reflect, I don't know if everyone feels this way, a couple people feel this way because they've stated it. This is a good project. And if it were not for these two areas, I believe that we would find it eligible.
I will ask the maker of the motion.
Yeah, just as a response to that, that's why I did say incomplete application.
I think that
I
covers-
agree, I agree, you're right, but it shouldn't be part of the
I
motion.
I agree too. Okay. Okay, can we get a roll call vote?
Pat Northey,
Yes, I agree with, I want to make sure that we're voting this correctly. A yes vote means
the
ineligible.
motion was that the project is not eligible.
Right.
Okay, Pat Northey,
Yes.
Jay Pendergast,
I hope I'm voting the right, yes,
Right.
yes, and eligible. Yes.
Jeffrey Alt,
Yes.
Sarah Lee Morrissey,
Yes.
Pat Patterson, David Romeo,
Yes.
Reggie Santilli,
Yes.
Stacy Simmons,
Yes.
Jack Surratt.
Yes.
Okay. Hopefully, we'll see you back next year with a completed grant.
Thank you for the comments. And Madam Chairman, I'm not sure where to bring this up. I have one of these, I know public comments. I just need to clarify something that was stated in the record earlier, just because we had a record, going, and I want to make sure it's clear. So at the site visit, Drew Driscoll with the city said that the community would have free access as in not
Yes, he
paid.
did say
And
that.
he shouldn't have said that. He
Okay.
meant it would be accessible to the public, and there will be a rate structure developed. It will be,
And we don't have that.
reasonable and per public.
Okay.
So
Thank
I
you
just
for-
wanted to
thank you for
clarify that, to
clarifying
not
that.
get his neck on the,
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that
Thank you.
clarification. Okay, we will move to African American Museum Expansion Project. And Mr. Williams, you're back at the podium.
I got the podium.
Yeah, yeah. I'll open up for questions from committee members. Are there any questions for Mr. Williams and his staff? I'm sorry, Keith, I didn't mean that. God. Any questions? Okay, is Stacy?
I have one question. I was just curious, the date that you applied for the state grant, do you know that off the top of your head?
We were notified, I think, sometime in the June timeframe, that monies were available, and it took us until October timeframe to even get a contract from the state. June, yes, June of 22, I'm sorry, June of 22.
And I have a question. Is this part of the grant that they received with, the St. John's River to Sea Loop Alliance was working on with the community on streetscaping? Is there a streetscaping part of this?
No,
No, okay.
not that I'm
But
aware of.
I thought I heard you say there was, the city was doing.
Well, the city is doing a streetscape on Boris,
Boris,
to
okay.
try
All
and
right.
increase the economic development activities along that strip.
And
And
did they get a streetscape grant from the state?
it's coming from Main Street
Main Street.
funding.
Okay, all right, okay. Okay, if there are no additional, Mr. Surratt?
I have one question, just a confirmation what I asked on site. The materials are all in and the application is complete.
Yes, that is correct. They provided the updated budget.
Thank you.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion. Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry, Ms. Simmons. Okay.
I'll make a motion that we deem this project eligible for ECHO.
Is there a second to that motion?
I second that.
Okay, we have a motion to deem it eligible. It's been properly moved and seconded. We'll have a roll. Is there any further discussion before we move to a roll call vote? Okay, we'll do a roll call vote.
Pat Northey,
Yes.
Jay Pendergast.
Yes.
Jeffrey Alt,
Yes.
Sarah Lee Morrissey,
Yes.
Pat Patterson, David Romeo,
Yes.
Reggie Santilli,
Yes.
Stacy Simmons,
Yes.
Jack Surratt.
Yes.
Okay, we have a unanimous approval.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Board.
Okay, we'll see.
Thank you all.
Take your staff with you. Okay, that concludes the eligibility, and we'll move to, that was our new business. We'll move to old business, and this is City of Lake Helen Creative Arts Cafe. And Mr. Burball, would you give us an update on where we are at with this? You or Mr. Brown can make comments?
So I think my memo kind of laid out that was shared with you last Friday. Since the 2017 scope change request, there have, and granted, COVID has been going on, there's been some continued compliance issues with the city of Lake Helen. I will just speak from staff's perspective. We thought we're moving along the guideline prescribed process, and having them come back and collect information. But they have, as you have seen in their recent memo, decided to withdraw their scope change request. So I know that there has been conversations with Mr. Brown and the city attorney. So if you'd like, I'm sure he can brief the committee on where we are before you start discussion.
Okay. Mr.
Sure,
Brown?
I'm happy to. So as a result of the memo that Brad sent and the receipt of the city's letter to the committee saying, please don't come by today and withdraw our amended application to change the grant scope. I did not look at the video link of the meeting that happened a week ago, but I did read a newspaper article regarding it that talked about a previous conversation the city attorney and I had. And I will say the newspaper article is pretty accurate about the conversation, indicating that, yes, we've never gone after somebody for liquidated damages and had to get a final judgment and then seek reimbursement. We've always been able to come to an agreement if somebody wanted to pay back the funds or the percentage, whatever's owed, based on the life of the covenants, and that's how we've moved forward. I had a conversation with him for about 45 minutes yesterday after everything came to my attention again. And I thought it was a good result. We kind of agreed to disagree in that I told him that it is our opinion that currently, as the 2016 amended grant was approved, it is not operating in accordance with that grant approval. As such, it needs to be amended. If they want an operations management agreement, that can be done. Other entities that have gotten an ECHO grant have done something similar. It just needs to come in and get the approvals. I also pointed out some other issues that need to be addressed, and some things that in the guidebook that maybe the city wasn't aware of. He acknowledged that. So we had a good conversation, like I said, for about 45 minutes. And the general gist of the conversation, in my opinion, was to continue to have communication, because I shared my belief that the letter that had been received effectively kind of stopped communication, which is not effective to me. And so I think it was a very encouraging conversation. It was a very good conversation between us. He was very receptive. It was a lot of give and take. We agreed to disagree on some things, but at the end of the day, he acknowledged and agreed that the way forward is he was going to go back and talk to the city, his staff. I've talked to my client staff, and what we're doing is Brad, I don't know if he's done already, but he's going to reach out to the city to coordinate a staff level meeting, which myself and the city attorney will attend. We're going to go through the amended grant again and point out what needs to be fixed in terms of how the current management agreement that they have with the current group is not taken into account in this amended grant, and why that needs to be changed, and some of those concerns that you, the committee, had to address, and see where that discussion goes. So I think that's a good thing. I think that the communication hopefully will continue. He told me that he would do that, and so Brad's going to reach out. We're going to set the meeting, and then we'll go from there. So I think there's a way forward. I think there's been maybe some not as effective communication as there could have been I mean, I'll take, my responsibility if I haven't effectively communicated things with him. But I think we have a way forward, and that's what, hopefully we'll have a meeting in the next week or two. And then for the next cycle with ECHO, my goal or hope, intention is to have something, I said the next cycle, for the next meeting, to have something back here in front of you all for consideration.
Okay, I'm just going to comment.
Yes, ma'am.
Before the others. I watched that meeting, and frankly, I'm about over it. I appreciate heartily your efforts, Russ, I do. But 2017 to 2023, and I saw when I was viewing it, I didn't see any indication from the elected officials that they had an interest other than taking it up to the council. So at this point, I'd boot it up to council and let them decide if they want to give them the opportunity or to just say no. I don't know what my colleagues think, but I don't, and I know that, I don't know the time staff has put in it. I know you've put time in it, and I know that the ECHO staff has put time into it. And we just can't seem to get there with this group. And God bless you for wanting to try. So, any comments from other members of the...
I have one.
Okay, well, let me start down here, Jack.
I'm sorry.
I saw Stacy.
I also watched the video, and I thought it was a little disrespectful, and I also feel that we should push it to the county council and give them our experience and some notes to go with their decision, possibly. Thank you.
Jack?
Yeah, I don't know. I tell you, I think the question is, how do we push it to the council? I think one of the things they kept stressing in the video was that they really wanted to meet in front of the council.
Yeah.
That was that was like well, if that happens, then at least we get a forum between the councils. And I'm not sure what would be accomplished by that, but that seemed to be important to them. Because if we're put in a position of saying, okay, what do we want to do? And we're saying this is crazy, and we want the money clawed back. That's a different kind of problem, and it escalates the situation. If we are, in fact, having conversations with them, I think that's material and important. And maybe we shouldn't get to, throwing a hand grenade in there yet. To me, I had a couple other questions beyond, and I thought the correspondence, Brad, that you put together was fantastic because it really laid it out. And it must have put them in a different position, because I think the attorney didn't really look at the guidebook as much as some of the correspondence. But I had two questions that came up in my mind. One is the public access. Well, first of all, we don't care about their restaurant. We care about their museum. But the public access was so limited, the hours that they provided. And so where do you draw the line on saying that you've got adequate hours of opening for this? That was one question I had. And the other was that now that they're looking to move to this GEMS group, but the GEMS group's not a nonprofit. And so does that in fact count? Because
Mr. Surratt, I don't mean to cut you off, but actually they are a nonprofit.
But they don't have 2 years of nonprofit.
They were operating.
That's correct. Is that correct? Is it 21 or 22? I don't.
I don't
Question for me,
think, I
too.
don't think so.
But I believe Brad's telling me the applicant has to have the 2 years, not the management. So, but they are registered as a nonprofit on SunBiz. I verified that because one of the letters that was sent over had the letter the attorney sent over in his memo had the exhibit where initially their proposal said that they were a for-profit corporation, but that was when they were making the proposal to the city a
It
couple
did say
years
that it
ago.
was
Right.
for-profit.
But they're actually a registered not-for-profit. I looked them up on SunBiz.
Okay, well, thank you.
You know, there are a couple things for me. One, we don't fund community centers, Mr. Bradball, correct? We don't fund those. We fund
In the past, we have funded cultural centers.
cultural centers, right. And that was in what the history piece of it. And I guess, and no disrespect, but Mr. Brown, if, it feels like to me, if they were wanting to go back and have with the ECHO committee and try to get all this done, there would have been a person here today. There would have been a person here. You know, somebody, he should have met with the manager or with the mayor, somebody, and said, hey, I think we can get this worked out, and they didn't show up. So I'm not sure there is, I'm going to use the word good faith for me, so.
Okay. I want to, you just reminded me of something, Ms. Northey, Mr. Surratt said, is that you mentioned that they wanted an opportunity or in front of the county council. So I think there was a little bit of a misnomer, and this came up in my conversation with the city attorney, is, you know, I think what he's referring to is a mediation process once a lawsuit's filed and you get the parties together, because there is a required mediation among government bodies before the lawsuit proceeds to a certain, before it can proceed from a certain point after. And what I tried to indicate to him is, you know, regardless of what the committee here's recommendation is to county council, whether it's positive or negative, you will get an opportunity in that process to talk to the county council. And I don't know if that was clear before. I hope it is now in that conversation we had, because, you know, if that's all they want, then that's fine. They'll get that opportunity. So I just want to clarify that I think that's where they were talking about.
Stacy?
I have a question, or maybe it's more of a comment. Do we know if they ever were in compliance?
So I gave you the history of our visits, which basically spell out whether, based on those visits, they were not. I will say, and I'll add this as an additional data point, I know in that scope it said that they would count patrons of the restaurant as visitors. In their annual report, we've asked them to report those separately, and we pulled the annual reports. And I believe it was from 2017 scope change until now, those visiting the museum was less than 1,000 people.
So, Brad, you could be a politician. You're pretty good. Okay, any other? Jeffrey?
I have a question. I have a problem with what we're considering the definition of museum.
There you go.
Because that's not a museum in there. That's pictures on a wall, old pictures on a wall. That's my living room or Cracker Barrel. That's not a museum. So who's making that determination as to 75% museum? That's my first comment. I did watch the meeting, and I've attended some of their meetings. I just think there was a level of arrogance towards ECHO that I've never seen before. And to me, it was a direct challenge to the spirit of ECHO and to this committee that we're going to do whatever we want. Committee has no backbone, and we're going to make, and I believe there was the mayor who said, we'll be able to sit down with the county council and work this out in 10 minutes, no problem. That's not acting in good faith. That's not acting in the spirit of what ECHO was designed for. And to go back to this original grant, 2004, when the main purpose was to provide a teen center and really provide services to that community. And over the years, that's changed, and that 2017 scope change turned it into whatever you consider that is now. But it's not an ECHO project. They've had opportunities to come here. They had opportunities from other organizations to operate as something that would be an ECHO facility, and they've snubbed their noses, in my opinion, at us. So I'm not interested in giving them any more opportunity. They had the opportunity today with a site visit to explain themselves again. They chose not to.
Okay.
Yeah, my comment is, I also watched the video, and it was pretty clear that their mayor and city commission have really no interest in talking to us. They want to go directly to the top. I do think that it's our responsibility to try to diffuse things before we send hand grenades right up to the county council. I don't think we should. I mean, we're screening things. We're trying to not make them, confrontational. So possibly, I think, Russ, your suggestion of meeting with them one more time might be a good idea. But I think it's going to, I mean, if they were in compliance, why didn't they just let us go there and look at the place today? I mean, if the cover-up's usually worse than the crime, we could have gone there and seen what was there and come back and say, well, is it a museum? Well, they're old pictures, but at least we could confirm that they have, I mean.
But the fact that they did not
something
give
there.
us that opportunity.
The fact that they
says to
didn't
me,
give us the opportunity to visit.
I think,
Yeah.
from my perspective, I'm ready to either request the payment back or to refer to the council, refer them to the council for a discussion with the council with a recommendation from this board that they have not been in compliance for 5 years, that they've not been in compliance. Never. So, I mean, I think that's really the issue. They've not been in compliance, and we've tried. This board has been over backwards, this committee has been over backwards, and it was a missed opportunity today. So that's just where I'm standing. So if anybody wants to make a motion, some kind of a motion.
I'll do it.
Mr. Alt.
I move that we find the city of Lake Helen and their Creative Arts Cafe project not in compliance with the restrictive covenants and grant agreement outlined in grant number 04-18, first approved in 2004 and modified in a 2017 scope change. We recommend the county take the necessary steps to rescind the grant money awarded to the project in the sum of $156,626.
I'll second that.
There's motion been properly made and second. Is there discussion on the motion?
Madam Chair, I just want to make sure, as long as the committee is aware, my intention is still to honor what I said and to put a meeting together. I fully understand and appreciate the committee's position and the recommendation. I just want to,
I just don't think
transparency.
this committee is ready to meet.
Understood. I totally understand. I just want to make sure you guys are aware.
Okay. Mr. Surratt?
One point is that I'm going to vote against this recommendation, but not because I don't have pretty much the same feelings. I just think there should be more discussion by the groups before it goes as a recommendation from this committee itself.
So let me ask staff, and I understand what you're saying. Mr. Bradwell, what the motion that is made would be advanced to the council agenda. Is there opportunity from that motion for them to have conversation? I mean, Russ is talking about continuing to meet with them. I think what we're saying is, once the council, this is bumped up to the council.
Yes, ma'am. The motion is a motion, so Brad will advance the motion to the council for consideration at the next, probably the first meeting in March, would probably be the time you can get it on the agenda. But we'll continue, well, hopefully have the discussion at that point. If there's something to bring back before the meeting in March when you meet, then we'll talk and go from there, because we meet again on the 17th of February.
All right. Okay. Is there other comments or questions? If not, we'll call, roll call vote, please.
Pat Northey,
Yes to the motion.
Jay Pendergast,
Yes.
Jeffrey Alt,
Yes.
Sarah Lee Morrissey,
Yes.
Pat Patterson, David Romeo,
Yes.
Reggie Santilli,
Yes.
Stacy Simmons,
Yes.
Jack Surratt.
No.
Motion passes.
Okay, we are done with that one, and we'll move to advisory committee comments. Is there any from the advisory board members other than what we've had in discussion earlier? Okay, we'll move to staff comments. Kendra, when is our next meeting?
February 17th, and just a reminder, it is a Friday due to scheduling conflict. So Friday the 17th, we'll meet and as a grant review panel and score the eligible applications.
Wait a minute, Friday the what?
February 17th.
February 17th, okay. Oh, yeah, I've got it on there, okay. Okay, is there any other questions? If not?
So also,
Sorry.
yes. The Trails Master Plan is very near to completion, and just to get some response from the committee, if you want to see it before there's public input, Tim Bailey plans on having some public meetings.
Yes.
So you'd like to see it before the,
Or after. So that was his question. Do you want him to, so if he comes here first and then goes out and gets public, or if he were to go get public input, when he comes back and presents it, he can say, here's the plan, here's what I've heard from the public. So he's asking which way would you
What is the
like?
desire of the committee, to see it pre or post-public? Pre? Okay, does it matter? Okay, no, he actually, he could present twice. He could bring it to us, and then he could come back and
Well,
let
I
us
think
know
by
what-
doing it in advance, we see what's going to be presented,
Yeah.
and perhaps it all works fine. There's no need for a second thing, but I think doing it in advance would be fine as a presentation.
Okay. Does that work for you guys? Okay. Anything else?
also, yes, so you had a invitation for ribbon cutting for the DeLand YMCA. It's February 3rd. We also have received one for the Ormond YMCA, which is February 10th. So I'll send all of that out in an email, just to confirm everything.
Okay, all right. Thank you, staff, for your attendance and all your good work that you do for ECHO. I'm very grateful. I know the members are as well. And we will stand in adjournment.